Hi, welcome to another mini lecture. Today's topic is determining the location of a terminal point given the signs of trigonometric values. So the kind of problems that we are looking at, for example, this one. If I know cosine is positive and sine is negative, can you tell me which quadrant theta ends up at? Is it quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? And so on. Similar questions are being asked. So let's just go ahead quickly review what the issue was, and will be very easy to answer these questions. So we started with a unit circle, or at some point we arrived at the unit circle, and then we had an angle whose terminal side could be anywhere, and so here is some angle theta that is given to us. On this circle we had this point x and y. If you remember, for the unit circle we had sine of theta was just y, cosine of theta was just x, and tangent of theta was what? It was y over x. Do you remember that? Then we had the cosecant of theta, which is reciprocal of the sine, secant of theta, which is reciprocal of cosine, and cotangent of theta, which is reciprocal of tangent, is x over y. Well, y and x have certain signs to them. That is, they can be positive or negative depending on which quadrant you are in. So obviously, if I'm looking at y, well, y is positive here, here, negative here, and here. And if, of course, if I look at x, x is positive on the right, negative on the left. And how about the ratio of y to x or x to y? Well, let's do one at a time. So if I have y over x, so y divided by x, I'm positive here, negative here. On the third quadrant, both of them negative, therefore this becomes, ratio becomes positive. In the fourth quadrant, y is negative, x is positive, so this becomes negative. So if you want y, or if you want 1 over y, the signs are as we have it here. If you want x or 1 over x, the signs are as we indicated here. And y over x or x over y, the signs are as we indicated here. Well, y, this was sine, and as well as cosecant. So sine or cosecant, first quadrant positive, second quadrant positive, third negative, fourth negative, and so on. X matched with the cosine. So cosine has plus, minus, minus, plus, and same deal with secant. These two match with tangent and cotangent. So if you have tangent or if you have cotangent, the signs go plus, minus, plus, minus. If we want to summarize all of them in one table, it's going to be a bit crowded, but we can squeeze them. Nice thing with quadrant 1, in quadrant 1 is that everybody is positive. You have nobody is that is negative. But when it comes to others, so the signs are going to flip-flop. So here we are going to have sine and of course cosecant. They are always to go together. They are positive, but everybody else is negative. Cosine and secant and tangent and cotangent, they are all negative. Well, How about in the third quadrant, sine and cosecant? Since y become negative, and they are going to be negative, cosine and secant also negative, and then tangent and cotangent, they are going to be positive. How about the fourth quadrant? So sine and cosecant, both of them are going to be negative, as we said. So cosine and secant, they go with x, and then they are both positive here. And tangent and cotangent, well, they are in the fourth quadrant, they are going to be negative. So that's the summary of sine of trig functions. Now we are going to turn the table around. We are going to give plus or minuses. I'm going to have a bit of a hard time with distinguishing between these two words, sine and sine. So sometimes I say plus or minus just so that it's clear we are talking about this one, not the other one. So cosine is positive and sine is negative. So what does that mean? Let's practice all over again. Cosine is positive. It means cosine is positive. Where is it positive? Cosine goes with x. Is that right? Sine is negative. Sine is negative where? Sine is negative if I am either here or here. So what is it that matches both requirements? I want cosine to be positive and the sine to be negative. So I better be in quadrant 4. Is that right? What if I want sine to be positive? Sine to be positive, my sine is positive here. Tangent is negative. Tangent is also positive. Tangent is positive here and here. Where do we get match both requirements? These two both being positive, so that must be quadrant 1, and so on. So here it says sine is negative. Where is sine negative? Negative is here. Cosine is positive. Where is it that cosine is positive? Cosine is positive here. We want positive of this and negative of that, and therefore I am in quadrant 4. So you could do your reasoning some other style. It's possible to answer this number of ways. Both positive. So both positive, we know if anything, we are gotta be all in quadrant 1, so that's always easy to answer that. Same here, cotangent positive, cosine positive. If everybody positive, our life is so easy, because so again, if you want to reason it out, you say cosine is positive, I'm either of these two places. Cotangent is positive only in these two places. The only match that we have is quadrant 1. And then what else? So secant being positive, well, we are always positive here. Secant goes with x, you remember that? And then sine is negative. Sine being negative, where is my sine negative? When y is negative, well, y is negative down here. Where are we matching both requirements? Must have been quadrant 4 where this happened. What else do we have? One more? Oh, we have still one more. So we got lucky again on the first one. What's the answer? If you want to reason it out, tangent is positive here and here, and cosine, how about cosine? Cosine is positive in these two locations, and the match, again, we said shortcut for everything positive is that, well, you are in quadrant 1 for sure. cosine positive, cosine where cosine is positive. Here you're either 1 or 4. Sine negative, did we do just something like that? Sine negative, we are down here, and sorry. So the requirements are matching at these two locations, and so this was of course sine, and we are in quadrant 4. So the issue is rather simple. Again, it's that you have to be practicing this topic. We are going around looking at this issue in many different ways to wrap our head around all these 6 trig functions and what they do, because they are going to be bread and butter of many problems coming up. Okay, so for sine and cosecant, we said they go with y. Y is positive here, negative down here. Cosine or secant goes with x. On the right we are positive, on the left is negative. Tangent and cotangent go with the ratio. Quadrant 1 and 3 we are positive, the other two we are negative. And here is a summary of all the cases. So work on that. Until next time, good luck and God bless.